Hi everyone and welcome back. In today's video, we're going to work on the GET Endpoints that allows to display the list of created posts, and also we're going to handle search and pagination. In previous video, we just finished working on the logout endpoints. Here, if I click on the logout button, you can see we got a little message. And then if I try to get access to this administration page, you can see that the system redirects us right away on the login page. Now, before we get started, we're going to first install a library here. We got here Laravel Vue Pagination. And to install Laravel Vue Pagination, you need to copy this command right here if you're using Yarn Node Package Manager, or if you're using NPM, you can copy this. But also we got some other lines right here. You can see as we are using Bootstrap, I'm gonna go with the first one. If you're using Bootstrap 5, you can go with the second, or Tailwind CSS with the third one. Now let's get started. Okay, before we start, let's see what we're gonna eat. With the endpoint that we're gonna eat here, we're gonna eat this endpoint, and you can see that this endpoint is wrapping a middleware of Laravel Sanctum. It is secured. And let's see first what it returns here. Copy this there, and then here let's try to get access to this page there, and then API post. The get endpoint of post returns this object. It is a big object. It contains some keys like current page, one, data. It is an array that represents created posts. And also we got other keys like first page URL, last page URL, and so on, links and other stuff. Now, if you want to display the second page, we're gonna use the page parameter string and then equal 1, and then here we just display the first page. If we need to display posts on the second page, you're gonna pass here 2. Here you can see here within our database we got, let me zoom a little bit first. Within our database we got 10 posts, and we are displaying posts by free, because here if we go within the post controller, you can see that paginate posts by free. Now let's get into the browser again, and here you can see that within the get post method, here we pass also a query to this URL. We need to pass it a query so that they can look a post based on title. Now here we need to pass here the query. This is another parameter. We're gonna pass here the query, and then the name of the post. I pass here post 1, and you can see that here, let me go on the first page. This query returns an array of posts with title post 1 post 1. You can see now, and this is the return type of our method. Yeah, it returns a big object. Now let's get into VueJs. The first thing, let's go on the administration page first. Let's log in, and then we need to display here data. Now here, let's get into this page, and then we need to create an action. We're gonna say get post list.ts, and then we need to copy this method create post. We're gonna modify it. Here, let me do this, and then copy this stuff right there and move it to the get post list. Now here you can see that here the first thing we have to change the name of the function. Here we got create post HTTP. We need to change it to get post HTTP, and here we need to pass it to parameter. The first one, it is going to be the page, the number, and the query. It is going to be a string, because right here we need to pass here the page. Here we need to pass the page, but also we need to pass the query like this query. Yeah, query. And then here we need to remove the body. We are not going to use the body. The body here, we are not going to send any data to the server. And here we need to remove the iCreate post input within this class. Here we are not going to use it. And also you can see if we move to the browser, you can see this is the return type of our function. We are not going to tap all this because it contains a bunch of keys and we don't need that. Now what we're gonna do is to get into here, into this page, and we need here to define the response type. We are going to use a utility type of TypeScript, which is the record type. And then here, we are going to say that this type right here, it is going to be the response type. It is going to be type of string. We're gonna have the string. And also here, a record utility type, it means we are saying that we need to define an object like this. Let's say here, I got an object user, and then here I can tap it. I can say it is going to be the ID and the name is string. And let me remove these keys right here. I can do this. And here I need to pass the ID and the name in order the error to disappear. Here I can say I need to pass here the name. But also I can do this. I can do this here. You can see that here we define an exact shape of this user object. And if we use the record utility type of TypeScript here, it means that we define an exact, here we just define that this object, it is going to have a key of type of string, and the value, it is going to be a type of string. If we need to be a type of number, we can add there a number. It can be, the value can be a number or string. That's what we're gonna do for our get response type here. We're gonna say that the value, it is going to be a type of string or number. But also you can see that if I add another key here, let me add email, you can see that we doesn't get any error. It means a record utility type allows to define a big shape like this one. It is gonna handle this one that we got in the browser. And here we're gonna need to pass it another type right here. The value is going to be a type of string, number, or array. It is going to be a type of array of post. Here you can see we got here ID, title, post content, image. And here we're gonna pass here, we're gonna create a type, we're gonna say export type. Let me get into first the admin type and see what we get here. I'm not import this. I can say I post list. I'm not copy this and move to the get post list and paste it right there. Here I'm gonna do this, yeah, like this, and then import it within this file. Now we just define that our get response type, it is going to be of this type right here, get response type. If you doesn't know something about TypeScript, I recommend you to go check it out, my TypeScript course. Now here we're gonna pass this get response type here right there, and then here you can see that now we need to call our get post http function. We need to call it within the post list page here. Right here we need to create a script, and then here we need to pass it a script setup, and then here the length we are using TS. Here I'm gonna use a life cycle hook or VueJs unmounted. Let me import it first. Import on mounted from Vue. This life cycle hooks allows to display data when the component is mounted on the DOM. I'm gonna do this on mounted, and then here it returns a function. Here you can see it returns a function, takes a hook, and then I'm gonna say it is going to return an asynchronous function here. Let me get into the get post list and call this function right here. And within this page, use get post list. Within the post list post list page. Here I need to create a function. When I say it is going to be an asynchronous function, I'm gonna say function, and then I'm gonna call it show post. Here I try to create another name which is different from the name from the function which is in the get post list.ts file. Now here we need to call this function right there, and then we're gonna do const data await, and then here we need to await this function, and then here I'm gonna pass the default page. It is going to be 1, and the query here it is going to be empty, and also here we need to pass here the page and the query, because here if we over the get post HTTP function, you can see that we need to pass it two parameters. The first one it is a number, which is the page, and the second one it is a string. Now here if we over the data variable, you can see that it returns a get response type. Here get response type, let me rename it, give it another name, get post right here, get post response type, like this. And then let us move to the post list page, and then let's try to create a reactive variable right here. I'm gonna say post, and then I'm gonna use ref. We use ref to define a reactive property. It is going to be an array, and then right now I'm gonna say an array. Let me import ref from Vue, and then here we're gonna say it is going to be of the get response type. This is the type of this reactive property. Let us get into the get post list, and yeah, it is exported, and cap it right here. Let us import it, and right now we need now to do what? We need to, here we just do a mistake here. We need to do this. It returns, it is going to be an object. Here you can see we need to pass it an object here like this, and then I don't know why we are getting here this error. Let me try to remove this right here. His type must be imported using, yeah, we need to add here a type, and try to remove this one because it is a function, and do this, and from that actions that, then we pass the function that we need to import. Here we need to remove this color, and then here everything it is okay. Yeah, the error disappear. Now here you can see that we just get the data of get post response type. Now we need to assign this data to the post reactive property that we just created. We're gonna do post that value equal to the data that we got from the server. And here you can see it doesn't get any error. And the next things to do is to call this show post page right here. We're gonna call it when our component is going to be mounted here like this. And here we don't need to pass any parameter for it because we have defined default property to it. Now the next thing is to display data. Here we are going to go within this table, and then we're gonna use v4 directive. V4, we're gonna do v4, we're gonna say post in post, we're gonna post that data, we're gonna do post that data, and then we're gonna pass it a key, and the key it is going to be post like this, post that data that ID. We just pass it an ID. Here I don't know why we're getting here an error. Let's try to do this first. Yeah, you can see here we are getting an error, but before we continue I need to debug this code here. First of all, I'm gonna delete it, I'm gonna copy it right there, and then here I'm going to try to debug this post variable and see what it returns really. I'm gonna copy it there, and then let's see what we get in the browser. And then here you can see that we are getting here an empty object. You can see here we're getting an empty object. And let's see let's inspect and see what we get when we are sending this query. Let's refresh the page, and then here you can see here we are sending a post request to the server, and then here we are getting this title field is required. It seems that we doesn't send our request within the get HTTP verb. Here you can see we are sending our request in post HTTP verb. That's why we are getting an error. Instead, we should go within the get post list.tsc file and try to modify this to get in order to get a successful response. Now let's try to refresh again and see what we get. Yeah, you can see here we are getting data. Our variable right here, it is returning what we get here. That's what we get here. You can see we just get data from the server. And if you can see the data property, it is returning an array which contains a post. And here we're gonna do this. We're gonna get into this post list page and try to comment this and move here, right here. I'm gonna copy the v4 directive within the tr tag, and then here you can see that this, when we do post that data, here we just return, we just get access to the data, because right here you can see here it is an object, and then we do post that data, we just eat this array. And then here you can see within the array we got an object here. We're gonna do this. In order to eat the ID, we're gonna do data, and then we're gonna do this. We need to eat the ID. We're gonna do post that ID instead of, because here we just store the post here, post that ID. And I don't know why we are getting this typing error. This is the benefits of using TypeScript. If you were using JavaScript, we couldn't get this error right here, and we need to remove it. Let's get into first the get post list, and here you can see that we are returning an array of post lists, and here we got an ID. And I don't know why we are getting this error. Let's try first to display data and see what we get first. I'm gonna do post.title, post.id. Let's try with post.title. Yeah, we still got an error, and let's move into the browser. Here you can see that we just display the list of posts, but we still getting a typing error in the code. You can see here that, let's try to remove it. Here you can see here we are passing here, it is going to be of a string. The value is going to be of a type of string, number, or I'm not change this structure. I'm not do this. I'm not do that. This structure, it is going to be of this type. It is going to be an object that return an array. We're gonna type it. We're gonna do array, and then the array, it is going to be of iPostList. And then here, if we get back within this file right here, you can see that the error disappear. But if we go here, I'm not use the intersection type. I'm not do that. This type, it can be also of records. It's going to be of a type of string here, and the value can be string or number. That's what I do for other type. And let's get back here. It doesn't get an error. Yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Here you need to go just watch my TypeScript course in order to understand this pretty well. If you are comfortable with TypeScript, I think you are ready. Now let's get into the browser. You can see that here we just display the list of created posts. We need to add a search here. Let's try to add the search. Let's get into the post list page and add one more thing about the table. We're gonna create a column. We're gonna say div.row. Yeah, here we're gonna put in a column medium 4, and then here let me add here 4, and here we need to define an input div.form group. and then we're gonna create an input. It is going to be a type of text and class form control. And then we need to create another reactive property. It is going to be reactive property. It is going to be a type of, here we need first to do this. We're gonna create a constant and then we're gonna say ref. It's going to be a type of string. Let me do this string and here the value, but we need to fix it. We are going to fix it. Let me first do this. We are going to fix this error, but the error disappeared. Now here you can see, let's continue with the query string. You can see that here we just define a reactive property query. That's, you can see here we need to bind it to this form here. We're gonna do this, and we need to call, we are going to add here an event here. We're gonna say function, we're gonna create a constant here. We're gonna say function search post, and then here it is going to be an asynchronous function. Here we need to call this show post right here, and then here we need to pass here an async keyword to say that this is an asynchronous function. And here we need to pass in the page. The page, it is going to be only one. We're gonna pass here one. You can say here one, and the query, it is going to be query that value. And then when we are going to type, we are going to type in this form. I'm gonna add the placeholder search, and then with an event, we're gonna say key down, and then here we're gonna call this function. And then here you can see that we just add a search on this table. Here, if I inspect, we get into the console. And then if I type, for example, I type how to learn TypeScript. Let's see what we get. You can see that here we are sending multiple requests to the server. Here you can see when I just type something, we are bombarding our server with so many requests. And to avoid that, we are going to use debounce function. Let's create a debounce function right here. I'm going to create a debounce function. Let's get into the helper folder, and then let's create a utility file. I'm going to say util.ts, and then the first function I'm going to create here. Now let's create here, let's do exports function, and then we're going to say, we're going to add dash debounce. We're going to say debounce. Let's say here we are not going to use a given library. We are going to say my debounce, and then here we are going to pass it a function, and the delay it is going to be the time in milliseconds. And here we're going to define a variable debounce timer, and also we need to return a function, and this function, it is going to have an argument of any type like this. Then it is going to be, we're gonna say it's going to be an args of any type. We're gonna say it's going to be spread operator, spread parameter, and then here we need to clear out the timeout. We're gonna use clear out timeout, and then we're gonna pass the debounce function, and here we're gonna assign the debounce function to set timeout function. We need to call it. We are going to pass it this argument, and the second argument of the set timeout function, it is going to be the delay. Here you can see we are getting an error, debounce, because it doesn't yet provide it doesn't yet type it. It is going to have two values. It can be defined or undefined, like this. Yeah, the error disappear. Now we need to call our my debounce function within the post list page here, because when we are typing here, you can see that we are bombarding our server with so many requests. You can see here we just launch 14 requests to the server, and it is not good. Now we need to call this debounce function. Here we're gonna do this. We're gonna let me first remove this. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna command this and call the debounce function. And then here we're gonna import it. We're gonna do this import here my debounce from the source, and then I'm gonna move into the helper folder. You can see here we are getting the helper folder and then the URL file. Here you get the URL file right there, and you can see that here we are still get an error url.ts. Let me do this so that the error can disappear. Or let me do this. Or TypeScript, it is going to locate it there immediately. Let's over. We are going to pass it a function. It is going to take a function, and here you can see we just need to pass it a function, and see here we need to import it. I think it doesn't. Yeah, it does export it here, my debounce. Then let's try to use it right here. We're gonna do this. Yeah, export my debounce. It is missing. I'm gonna do this import. Here I'm gonna pass here, and then from arts, and then here we just need to pass. We get into the helper folder slash. Here we got URL and the error disappear. And here you can see when we over the debounce function, you can see that we need to pass it a function. We just pass it a function, but also the delay, it is going to be in milliseconds. We're gonna say 3 milliseconds, 3,300 milliseconds. And also this function right here, it is going to be asynchronous here because we just need to pass this right here. And then here we are going to do this. Yeah, we're going to call the show pulse function, and here let's try to do search again and see what we get here. Let me refresh the page. Yeah, we are getting data, and let's try to see if we are going to send many requests. The debounce function, it is better because it waits us to finish the tap in order to launch the query to the web server. Here you can see how to learn. Yeah, when I start typing within the search form, you can see that it launch the query to the web server. If I remove the bounce function, you're going to see when we type a single letter, a single character, it sends a request to the web server. And that it is not good because we are bombarding our server. Our server can crash. And right now our server can't crash because it is on the local machine. Now here you can see that we just implement the bounce function. Now let's try to add pagination to our table. Now let's get into the Laravel Vue pagination documentation. And here you can see here they provide an example where they are using Tailwind CSS components. And as we doesn't use Tailwind CSS, we are using Bootstrap. And as we are using Bootstrap, I'm gonna import first this. Let's get into our page, and then here I'm gonna change this component to Bootstrap 4. As we have seen on the documentation, we have to do Bootstrap 4 pagination, and then we need to call these components here. We need to pass it right here. I'm gonna pass it, and as you can see on the documentation, it has two properties. The first one, it is the data that came from the backend, and also we need to pass it an event. Let's grab this, and then let's pass this through property to these components. We need to pass it data, and also we need to pass it a function. Here we got a function show post, and then here let me try to zoom a little bit, and let's try to go within the browser. Here you can see that it seems that we are getting here an error because our URL disappear, and you can see in the browser we are getting an error. Here you can see the message renderless pagination data is undefined. It means when we are calling this component Bootstrap 4 pagination, it is getting data, it is undefined, because while we are displaying, we are rendering these components, the async function will be in execution, and as this function will be in execution, the show post, this post reactive property will be undefined because it doesn't yet get the data, because this promise will be still executing. And here we are going to check if data